afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Bayou Bets. This one for Tuesday, September the 6th. Zach Ewing here with you. To my right is Spencer the Guru. To my left is Jim Derry. We got a lot to get to. It is opening week of the NFL season. We have a little contest in the Superdome that happened Sunday night to dissect, fellas. Just a ton to talk about.
To give people, I just want to make sure that everyone sticks around to the end, because when you ask for closing thoughts and comments, I'm going to have a new segment on Data this week, and I'm going to start it here on Bayou Bets called Dumb Things Gen Zers Say. No offense, Spencer, but we are going to I want comments from the audience here, so I hope people stick around or at least come back to the end, because I need comments from people, but we'll save it for the end.
Jim is
Gen
going
Zers
full
say.
get off my lawn mode. Look out. Full
100%. 100% get off my lawn mode. And I think I want to get the thoughts of our general public, because we need them today.
Spencer and I are going to start speaking in emojis in retaliation.
No, actually, Zach, I think you will agree with me. Spencer, I think will agree with me, but it'll be interesting because I really want to get his take on this later on.
Yeah, I'm curious about this.
That's a hell of a teaser. People got to stick around.
Yeah.
Jawan says, NOLA family, let's go. Glendale is here from Louisville. Welcome back, Glendale. Glad to have you here. We are Bayou Bets. We are on bet.NOLA.com. You can catch us every day. Sports betting content for you as part of the NOLA.com family. You can also sign up for the Caesars Sportsbook app if you haven't already. They are our sponsor. We love partnering with Caesars. Get your first bet risk-free if you're a new user based in Louisiana by going to NOLA.com/Caesars today. That will load the promo code automatically. NOLA.com/Caesars. You get that first bet risk-free up to $1,200 and.
Oh, we might have lost Zach there, Spencer.
Yeah, $1,250 up to $1,250.
Tell them, what code do they use?
Yep, NOLA full there on the Caesars, bet.NOLA Caesars. So yeah, y'all go check it out.
I was gonna say it's a good thing I got my access back. I was about that. I thought we were gonna have the Caesars up on the screen for an hour, but that's okay. We love Caesars.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Good, Zach?
Yeah,
I'm back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm having another adventure. We'd also like to encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. Go to NOLA.com/Bayou Bets to do that. We are in your inbox 6 mornings a week with all of the latest South Louisiana sports news and sports betting news from around the country.
I thought you were getting off my lawn.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it, because I can't wait to get to the end of the show now. But
we'll spoil it.
I think LSU fans are having a little bit of a get off my lawn moment after Sunday night. Brian Kelly's first game, LSU frankly did not look very good for 3 quarters. They were down a couple of touchdowns to Florida State. They got a little bit of a get out of jail free card at the end. They started playing better on offense. Florida State fumbles the ball back to him, and Jaden Daniels, got to give the guy credit. He had been beat up all game long. Leads LSU on a 99-yard touchdown drive to score as time expires to apparently tie the game. Here's my get off the lawn moment. Go for 2, Brian Kelly. Go for 2. Instead, he kicks the extra point. It's blocked. Florida State wins 24-23. Game stays under 51, by the way. That was also decided on that missed extra point. I don't even know how I've had 2 days to digest this, as have you guys. I don't even know what you say, though.
Go ahead, Zach. Go ahead, Spence, because I think you and I agree.
Okay, yeah, I was like, there's no way I'd have gone for 2. I mean, it was supposed to be overtime. It was gonna be overtime. I mean, it's just you had to just go for overtime there. I feel like he had all the momentum.
Why? You have all the momentum. Exactly.
Because they hadn't done a damn thing. Let's go ahead, Spence. I'm gonna back you up here.
All right, yeah, because it's just one of those, like, why risk? Like, I have that much risk. I get it. He missed the extra point, but I feel like it's one of those hindsight is 2020, because the percentage of making the extra point to me was significantly higher, to where you just had to do it. To me, he'd have gotten much more criticism for going for 2 and not making it than he would have for what ended up happening.
Jim, I completely disagree, but go ahead, Jim.
Well, no, you completely disagree. Because you're a go for you're a go for 2 guy. I mean, it is what it is.
Jim Haslett.
Yeah. The thing is here, when they haven't done a damn thing, okay, for the last quarter and a half, which is the truth. They haven't. All they did was fumble. And in a quarter and a half, you went on successive long drives to score. Not only do you have all the momentum, you have all the everything. You don't risk your entire outcome on one play because you got a 99.5% chance of making an extra point, or you have a basically 48% chance of making a 2-point
You do
conversion.
not. You do not have a 99%
You
chance.
do
They
have
already had a kick blocked.
You still have a 99% chance. If you go through college football last year in extra point attempts, you have a 99% chance of making the extra point. And any numbnuts can stand here and say after they missed the extra point, they should have gone for 2. They should have used a different quarterback. They should have followed different linemen. You could say they should have, would have, could have done anything you want them to say they've done because they missed it. It's easy to say when they miss it. Had they made it and gone and won the game, which is what they would have done if they gone in overtime, no one would be saying any of this would have, could have, should have crap. It comes up every time someone loses. They should have done this or they should have done that. How about you just protect the damn quarterback? How about that?
But they couldn't, Jim. They couldn't protect the quarterback.
Right.
They couldn't protect the kicker.
So
the offensive line sucked.
1 point or 2 point,
which means two things. Which means two things. Your chance of winning in overtime was less than 50-50. I don't care. Florida State outplayed them for 3 3/4 quarters. You have a chance to win the game. Florida State's shell-shocked. Go win the game. Besides the fact,
if I thought it was 50-50, if I thought it was 50-50 going into overtime, I probably still wouldn't agree with you, but at least I'd be more inclined to agree with you. I think it was more like 80-20 LSU had it going up.
What game are you watching? What game are you watching?
Did you see Florida State's just drooping after they scored the touchdown? I mean, they were done. They got lucky and blocked an extra point. One guy blocked an extra point.
Go for 2. You go for 2. They're shell-shocked.
It is going to be a long season.
Overtime gives them a chance to catch their breath. They get the ball back. LSU couldn't stop. The only reason LSU stopped them is because they fumbled. I mean, look.
We got things Gen Z are saying. We got things the dumb millennials say. Okay, so we have the whole gamut here on this show. Just go for that's Zach's solution to everything. Go for it on 4th down and 2, no matter where you are. Go for it on 4th and 2, and go for 2 every single time. We should just change the rules, Zach, because this is 2022 now. We should change the rules because nobody wants to see an extra point, and nobody wants to see punts on 4th down or field goals on 4th down. So we should just change the rules because it's dumb to do anything else.
I didn't say that. And I actually said earlier Sunday night that Florida State should have kicked the field goal at the end of the first half when they ended up trying for it on 4th and 2 and throwing a fade. That was stupid. But in this situation, the math does not lie, Jim. First of all, there is no way they were 50-50 to win that game in overtime. Florida State outplayed them all night long, beat them up on the offensive and defensive line all night long. Number 2, they were in no way 99% to make that extra point. We'd seen kicking problems all camp long.
You use math. You use math all the time. The math. You think that no one else in college football has a terrible O-line when they're blocking on special teams? The math across of college football, 99% of the time, extra points are made. That's why the NFL moved their extra point back. So if you like to use math, don't use it when it's convenient. Use it all the time. And math in this case states that 99% of the time, teams make an extra point. Even in high school, it's probably 83, 84%.
You said it. In this case, I'm using the math from this case. I don't care what Minnesota does on extra points. I don't care what UCLA does on extra points. I care what LSU does on extra points. They've struggled on special teams.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
All camp long.
Let's make a bet. Let's make a bet right now. I'll make you a bet right now. And even money. No odds, no anything. LSU doesn't miss another extra point the rest of the season.
You're on.
Okay, what are we betting? They won't miss another extra point.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll just say a po' boy for now. We'll figure it out off.
A lot of po' boys going to have to be made up by the end of this season.
They also will not kick 99 extra points the rest of the year, by the way. So this doesn't even prove anything. But they will.
And that's the excuse you use when they don't. That's the excuse you use when they don't miss one. Well, they only kick 62 extra points.
I think we all know that game did not just come down to the extra point. Florida State did sell out to block the kick. I don't understand it. to me, it's common sense. Like Nick says, one play,
Common
you
sense.
have all
Get
the
extra
momentum.
point.
Florida State hasn't stopped you for 10 straight plays. Why
You
would
don't
they
put
stop
your
you on the
whole
11th?
game on one play. When you've done all that work to get to where you were, you don't put there isn't one single rational person besides you. I consider you a rational person. You're the first rational person I've heard say go for 2 there. I've listened to a lot of BS the last couple of days.
There's a lot of rational people on this stream right now. Then I guess they're irrational in your mind because they're all agreeing with me and not you.
Uncle Big Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised at all the go.
Uncle Big Nick bought us lunch on Saturday, man. He's as rational as it comes.
You're taking social media. I love you,
Nick.
social media. I love you, social media, for following us. But you're taking the word now of social media is behind you. Have you read some of the things that on social media the last couple of years?
Oh man, the Keishawn Butte stuff. Oh my God, the social media is just going crazy.
poor Butte and Neighbors.
Neighbors too. Neighbors has gotten just absolutely shredded.
You know what's insane? Neither of those muffed punts cost LSU a single point. Neither one, because the first one led to the 4th and 2 that Florida State didn't score, and the second one Florida State fumbled it. Neither one of those actually cost LSU. I mean, obviously you can't keep doing it, but it's amazing that neither one of them actually cost LSU anything. So LSU plays Southern next week. By the way, Luke Johnson, our Saints beat writer, is going to join us here in about 5 minutes to talk some Saints. So we are going to pivot to the NFL. But first, I want to say our friends at Caesars have given us a hypothetical LSU Southern line, guys. LSU Southern next week, I think it's about more than the football. It's the first time the 2 Baton Rouge schools have ever played each other in football. The halftime show is going to be fantastic. The pregame atmosphere is going to be fantastic. It'll just be a fun atmosphere. Of course, no one expects LSU to lose that game. You can't bet on it yet, but Caesars did say if they had a line today, hypothetically, it would be LSU minus 38.5. That spread probably comes live either Friday or even Saturday morning. But like I said, I don't know how much this one is about the football. LSU hasn't covered a spread that big since 2014. Just throwing that out there.
Shouldn't it be 37.5? I mean, we know they're going to miss an extra point.
I didn't say it was going to be this week.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure. If it's 37.5, I'd take it.
So that's Southern and LSU. We do want to pivot to some NFL. Luke Johnson joining us momentarily to talk some Saints. The NFL starts on Thursday with Bills and Rams. Before we get to Luke and the Saints, let's talk a little Bills-Rams coming up on Thursday. We have a show at 4 o'clock on Thursday, so we'll give that one a full preview then. But a lot of stuff having to do with the Bills. Like, a lot of people like the Bills in this game. Are you guys on that train?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely liking the Bills. I think the Rams are going to be kind of rusty with Matthew Stafford dealing with the elbow tendonitis this offseason. So I'm thinking the Bills come out strong, live up to expectations. And, yeah, I'm right now I'm very much on the Buffalo train.
I haven't done my picks yet, but I'm leaning Rams at the moment because of, trends and math. It's state that the Super Bowl champion at home normally gets the job done. I need to go back and do a little bit more research, but I'll have that out for you Thursday morning in my first NFL picks column of the year.
Check that out on bet.NOLA.com. Our good friend Devin is watching.
Yeah. Let me just do my best Devin Jackson imitation. Just sitting back and smiling.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring on an LSU grad. Maybe he can settle this argument before we get into the Saints. Luke Johnson is here, Saints beat writer for the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. Also happens to be an LSU grad. Luke, I swear I didn't mean to do this, but we're going to start with Sunday night. Should LSU have gone for 2 at the end of that game? Oh, you're on mute, Luke.
Yeah, Luke's mute.
Yeah, they absolutely should have gone for 2. I mean, you just drove 99 yards. Like, this is the only time, like the whole game, you've had it all there for the taking. You have everything going for you. Yes, you go for 2.
Like in fantasy baseball, Luke. Just like in fantasy baseball, you're wrong.
Look, you were looking up above me or looking up at me in the standings for a little bit there, Jim. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. I'm still learning in that fantasy baseball league, but I know I'm right in this. I know I'm right. They should have gone for 2. Look, this is not the type of season that's gonna end in a championship for LSU likely. So why not just why not just go for the jugular there? Go for the win in the final minute. Get a great win in the season opener, first game with Brian Kelly. If you don't get it, then you don't get it, and whatever. But I was in the moment. I wanted them to go for 2. I was upset.
Week 1, you're already giving up. You're giving up. You're saying it's not a championship. Well, it's not now, but you're already in week 1. You're giving up. You're saying,
look.
Just go. It's not gonna be a championship season. We
all know what the state of the program that Brian Kelly inherited. Okay, it's not a championship program right now. But I think it won't take them long to get there. I don't think it'll take them long to get there. But it was in rough shape. I mean, they've got transfers coming over from like D2 schools starting for them. So
I do think that's another legitimate point, though. It being Brian Kelly's first game, I think you get almost some credit from the fan base for rolling the dice and say, hey, I believe in my guys. Let's go for 2 here. And if you don't make it, Jim, you said that you were going to get more backlash. I really don't think that's the case. I mean, there's no way of knowing that part, but I think if they go for 2 and don't get it, everyone sort of gives them an attaboy for giving it a shot and going for the win.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that we got more backlash. Sorry, Luke. I don't think we would have got more backlash. So if I said that, I shouldn't have. I do agree that if they would have gone for 2, you would have had a similar amount of they should have gone for 2, they should have gone for 1. I know you would have still been on the 2 train. I still would have been on the 1 train. You're not being a hypocrite. I know that even if they didn't make it, that you would have agreed. And I think Lucas would have been the same. But, who cares? It's done. They didn't do it. They lost. It is what it is.
Yeah, let's put that game to bed for good.
Yeah, let's do that and move on to some NFL. We'll talk some Saints first, Luke. Saints open Sunday in Atlanta, 5.5-point favorites in this one. Look, week 1 is never must win. It's never must win this early in the season. But if you think the Saints are what they think they are, I don't think I'm saying that right. But if they're going to go anywhere this year, this is a game you pretty much feel like you got to put in the win column, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't want to hedge what I'm saying too much here, but it is week 1. It is a divisional opponent. These games do tend to be closer than other games. I don't have the series history on in front of me, but it seems like it really doesn't matter. Kind of what the records are when these 2 teams play. At least that's been my experience in the 5 seasons I've been covering the team. So, there's so much newness. I think the Saints are going to be really good this year, but Pete Carmichael's going to be in his first game as OC and offensive play caller, rather. Dennis Allen's in his first game as head coach. We still don't exactly know what's going on with Michael Thomas. I think everything that we're hearing is he's on the right track, but we don't know, and we haven't seen him really play in a year and a half. There's just so many ways that this could be it's something that we're looking back on in a couple months is not really indicative, reflective of what this team is, even if they win the game. And, I remember probably the best Saints team I've covered gave up 48 points to Ryan Fitzpatrick in week 1 of the 2018 season. I think that was that season. So, I try not to expect too much in week 1. I expect myself to know what the hell I'm talking about. Who would have saw him beating the Packers 38-3 last year in week 1? Just never know, man. Never know.
That is, of course, the mantra of the NFL. You never know what's going to happen. Let's pull back the lens a little bit, Luke, because you mentioned you're optimistic about the Saints. It seems like most people are optimistic about the Saints, not just locally in New Orleans, but also around the country. Peter King picked them as his number 1 seed in the NFC in his column this week. So I don't know that I'm that optimistic, but why is the team that optimistic?
Yeah, and look, I think Peter is maybe a little bit higher on him than some other people are, but I do agree with you that there is a sense of this team is probably going to be better than it was last year, and I think the reasoning is, that defense is going to travel. It's going to play against no matter who they're up against. They've already shown repeatedly that when they go up against these big time quarterbacks like Brady and Rodgers, they're gonna play really good games, and they're bringing back basically everybody from those units. They added in the guys they aren't bringing back. I think they added impact playmakers in their place. Tyrann Mathieu joining the team. I think they're expecting big jumps out of guys like Pete Werner at linebacker and Paulson Adebo, who is very good at corner. So when you take that defense, which is like the foundational piece of the organization, and then you add in Jarvis Landry, what they believe will be a healthy Michael Thomas, hopefully an offensive line that's not going to have to start 11 different combinations. Hopefully Jameis Winston, who plays the whole season. I just think there's a lot of things that have to go right, but they're trending in that direction, and everybody's feeling kind of good about where they're at. And they went 9-8 last year with the worst offense of the Sean Payton era while they're starting 58 different players. They got new coaches and new regime and knew a lot of things, but a big chunk of that talent is still there. So I think that's the reason a lot of people are optimistic because, knock on wood, I don't think they're going to have nearly as much stuff go wrong as it did last year, just in spectacular ways sometimes.
But Luke, towards what you're talking about, I wonder if Saints fans still should temper their enthusiasm for at least week one. Because a lot of times, I'm seeing the comments on here saying 49, Atlanta 10. Just if we don't win by 20 plus, we will be killing everyone. I mean, temper your enthusiasm. This team still needs time to get their chemistry together. Jameis has not thrown to at least 3 of these receivers on this team. They have injuries. They're not deep at left tackle. There are so many things. So if the Saints win this game 23-17, which is a possibility, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I actually think it's going to be fairly close. It's not something to be disappointed about if the Saints don't win 40-10, right?
No, absolutely not. I think the NFL, it's just that like you got to feel good if you won the game, right? Every single team, with the few like very small exceptions, can win any game out there, especially in these rivalry games. I just think that that you're probably right that they've got some stuff that they got to still figure out. They didn't have a lot of these guys playing in the preseason games. Jameis Winston played, I think, all of like 6 snaps in the preseason, or 10 snaps and threw 6 passes. There's a lot of stuff that they're going to probably need to incorporate slowly as this year goes on. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a very close game, and I don't think anybody, if they win that game in that fashion, should be upset about it. Get the wins out of the way, especially when they're early in the season. You're figuring stuff out about your team. By the time November, December rolls around, you should have a pretty good idea of who your team is, and at that point, that's when you hope you're beating teams by 20, 30 points. Get the first week out of first game out of the way with the win. I think you should be happy about it, no matter how it goes.
Hey Luke, I had a couple questions for you about some of the defensive players. I know Marcus Davenport had missed some time in the offseason, as well as Pete Werner. What are their week one statuses looking like? Do you think they'll be 100% and ready to go?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be 100%. I don't think either of them will be, but I think they'll be ready to go. Pete Werner is probably one I'm a little bit less sure about, just because we haven't seen him practice in so long. Before last week, we got a chance to see him out on the field a little bit, but he was really just doing some very minor stuff. It wasn't necessarily stuff that's going to indicate that he's playing, but I think he's on the right track, and it would be a surprise to me, just considering especially how they kind of manage their roster at the 53-man cuts, for Werner not to be a part of that. Davenport, I think, is going to be good to go. He didn't play in the preseason. They ramped him up very slowly, but it looks like he's in football shape, and he's really, really important to what they do. I don't think they're going to have to ask him to play 70% of the snaps like maybe they will later on this year. They've got a pretty good rotation there at defensive end, but I imagine he'll be out there playing, maybe 40% of the snaps, maybe 50. And Marcus Davenport, if he's able to give you 30 to 35 snaps a game, is a pretty good player to have out there. I think he's a guy in a contract year with a lot to prove. I think he could be a guy who has just a monster season this year if he stays healthy, which is always a big if for him.
Luke, your level of concern with the secondary after the week they had last week, trading away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and then potentially losing Marcus May for good. What is the level of concern there? And then the second part of that question on the offensive line with the injuries to Trevor Penning, James Hurst just coming back from injury, is one of those higher in your mind than the other as something that could really waylay this team?
Well, I think, if I'm looking at this right now, the offensive line is probably a bigger concern just in terms of, like a rash of injuries breaking out, whether they'd be able to weather that. I like some of the guys they have backing up Hurst and Ryan Ramczyk at tackle. I think Lewis Kidd is a very promising prospect, the guy that kind of unearthed out of Montana State. He was a lone undrafted rookie to make the team. They're really high on him, but he's really raw. He's got a lot of room to grow, kind of like Trevor Penning, but down a couple steps. I think Landon Young, who's a guy who he stepped in last year, played a game before he had a season-ending injury. I think is a pretty solid prospect, a solid developmental tackle guy. But obviously those guys aren't on Penning's level of talent, skill, what he can be even. And if one of their starting tackles goes down, you got to rotate one of them in, and it's a big drop off. And then even at offensive guard, I'm not really a huge fan of what they have back there. So they're thinner there than I'd want them to be, but I think that's probably the case with a lot of teams around the NFL. For the Saints, they've already lost one of their premier offensive line players and still have a starting five that you feel pretty good about. I think they're in decent shape there. It's just, I think they are one of many, many NFL teams out there that's going to have a hard time surviving a rash of injuries. As far as the secondary, I know CJ Gardner-Johnson is a very popular player. I think he's a good player, but they're so deep there that I don't really think that trade itself is going to be, it's going to cause this huge drop off, especially in coverage. I think Bradley Roby is probably a better cover player than CJ Gardner-Johnson. I think it might hurt him in the run game. They're able to play nickel on like 80% of their defensive snaps, 85% of their defensive snaps last year. And a big part of that was because CJ Gardner-Johnson was essentially a linebacker in a corner's body. Very, very stout against the run. And I think it's going to be a loss there. But I think it's it evens out when you consider that Bradley Roby, I think, is a better coverage player. The thing you just don't know about is Marcus May. I mean, there's so many questions about him. The guy's coming off an Achilles injury in November of last year. And he also has a pending legal case in Florida from February of last year, where he was arrested under suspicion of DUI, and that's still in the legal system. And I don't think he's going to face any sort of necessarily near future discipline for the arrest last week. The NFL usually lets that stuff play out in the legal system first, and it seems like that's going to play out for a while. But there are concerns there, even with that notwithstanding. And the only good thing about it is I think the Saints have pretty good players. Even that PJ Williams backing up there, who can fill in where needed.
Luke Johnson, beat writer for the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com for the Saints, dropping the knowledge with us as the Saints prepare for their season opener at noon on Sunday. 5.5-point favorites in Atlanta. You pick the Saints in this one, you break one of Jim Derry's golden rules, picking a road favorite in a division game. So that's tough. Luke, before we let you go, how about a Super Bowl pick? Let's take a look at the odds here. Preseason, who are you taking from each conference, and then who wins the big game?
Ooh, man, I haven't even thought about this. So you really put me on the spot, but I'm going to go for it here.
You're allowed to change your mind later then.
Yeah, yeah. I really hate to pick like chalk in either conference, but I really like the Bills. I think they're so deep. They're so talented. The AFC is absolutely loaded. I think you couldn't go wrong with the Chiefs, the Bengals, or the Ravens. But I'm going to have to go with the Bills. I just think they're like Josh Allen is so good, and he's got a great roster around him. NFC is a lot harder for me to peg. I'm going to go probably with the Packers here. I feel like they've been so close. They've got to break through eventually. They've been in the NFC Championship game for each of the last 2 years, nothing to show for it. So I'll go Bills, Packers in the Super Bowl, and give me the Bills winner.
All right. So there will be lots of fattening foods at those tailgates if it's Bills and Packers, and we'll enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Luke Johnson, thanks very much. Enjoy the season, my friend.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Luke.
That's Luke Johnson, beat writer for the Saints for the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com, dropping some knowledge. By the way, on Thursday, I'm not even sure you guys know this, Trey Wingo is going to be on to help us preview the NFL. Pretty good guest for opening day of the NFL season, so be here at 4 o'clock live on these same social media channels.
Is that when we're going to make our final predictions for the season, and we're going to have to give our own Super Bowl predictions?
I think we're going to have to do that at the end of the show on Thursday. That seems appropriate.
I've got mine ready, so yeah, I'll be ready.
I don't know. I mean, everybody's picking the Bills, so I mean, we should just quit the season now. I mean, I think everyone
just like Uncle Big Nick says, it's all over.
Yeah, exactly. It's over. So I mean, why even play the season? Everybody's going to pick the Bills.
I got a sneaky feeling the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be like, hey, remember us? Yeah, we lost Tyreek Hill. We still got a pretty good guy playing quarterback. Still got a pretty good defense. I'm not giving anything away about my pick, but there's a lot of good teams, especially in the AFC. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC. Kyle, I'm not sure what this means. Local media people to admit the Saints are one. The local media is as optimistic about the Saints as I've ever seen. Yeah,
I know he's your friend, Spence. I know he's your friend, but he has a perfect example of social media talking out of their wazoo. The local media is so far up the Saints' case that it ain't funny. Jeff Duncan polled 27 local media members, and every single one of them thought they were going at least 10-7, and which is why I'm scared to death of my pick. And so,
if you asked me, I would have said 9-8. So. Maybe I'm the pessimistic one. I don't know. I mean, one other thing, Kyle, and I'll let Spencer defend his friend here, but like the schedule gets tough, man. After the first 4 or 5 weeks, there is not a lot of easy games in the second half of that schedule.
Brutal.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's very brutal, and it's just, I mean, I'm still thinking the Saints get a wild card, but yeah, I'm honestly not as optimistic as a lot of the local media and just a lot of friends and family that I've talked to that are passionate about the Saints. They're like, man, you're kind of negative. I've heard that so much from people saying I'm negative. I'll pick 10 wins. How is that negative? Like, damn, I think y'all are just drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much. But I mean, I think they'll do well. But yeah, it's not going to be a smooth ride. I mean, this is the NFL. I mean, this is not a cakewalk. This is going to be. They're going to have some weeks where you're going to come out of it thinking, oh man, this team looked bad. But that's just the way the NFL is. Even a team like the Bills is going to take some lumps. I mean, they lost to Jacksonville last year. The great Josh Allen. I mean,
got shut out by Jacksonville, didn't they?
Yeah, by the other Josh Allen. That was funny. The Jags had the edge rusher Josh Allen. It was like he was like, I'm the real Josh Allen in that one anyway. I mean, that was, you just never know. But hopefully the Saints can get at least a wild card. But I'm not going crazy like a lot of people.
I mean, just think of the.
He's not even listening to you now. He's not even listening to you right now.
I mean, this is like, we would like nothing more than the Saints to go to the Super Bowl. There would be hundreds of people watching this show every time if the Saints were in the Super Bowl. I'd be all for it. I'm just trying to call it like it is. Like, look at the names of the quarterbacks the Saints have to face this year. Tom Brady, twice we know about, but throw in Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, who's a much better player than he gets credit for. Derek Carr, who's a better player than he gets credit for. Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray. Like this is a tough schedule this team is going to face. Yes, I think they're a good team. They're not by any stretch of the imagination invincible.
Okay, put this last dumb comment on the screen.
14-15 wins.
If the Saints win 14 games, I tell you what, I'll make a bet with Kyle right now. If the Saints win 14 games, you will be the guest on one of my Datitude shows for the entire hour. Okay, and you can talk about whatever. You can talk about movies.
You can gloat
your
for
favorite cereal. You can talk about where you want to go on vacation 4 years from now, Kyle. But you got to tell me what you're going to give me when the Saints don't win 14 games. Okay, so let's make a bet.
I don't even think this is much of a limb to go out on. I'll say no NFL team wins 14 games. I don't think there's a good enough team.
Right.
The Bills would be your top choice. I don't think they're going to go 14-3. I don't think anybody will. So we will see about that. But yeah, we'll see. A couple other things to get to. I want to leave time for Jim's big get off my lawn at the end. So in fact, I think that's what we got to call that segment now, right?
No, it's called Dumb Blank that Gen Zers say. I got to come up with the right word that I can actually say on Datitude, because Datitude is a friendly podcast. I mean, I guess
you got to check the little box that says it's family friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically we could say whatever we want, but we're going to keep it family friendly. So I'm going to have to come up with a good word.
We'll talk more Week 1 NFL on Thursday, of course, but we also will have season-long predictions. So here's some of the big games this weekend. Bills-Rams, of course, on Thursday night. I do like the Bills in that game to start off with. I don't know if I like them to win the Super Bowl. Bengals, who would have thought the Bengals would be almost touchdown favorites over the Steelers at any point in the last 10 years before, the last month of last year? Browns at Panthers, the Baker Mayfield revenge game. The Panthers are favored there. Panthers could be 2-0 when the Saints get to town in Week 3. Packers, Vikings, Chiefs 6-point chalk in Arizona, and then the Sunday night game is the Bucks at the Cowboys. Anything stick out to you, gents, here?
For me, it's Packers, Vikings. I've said it throughout the preview segment. Going through, Spencer and I were praising God this morning that we didn't have to do a preview today. It was phenomenal. It was glorious. But throughout the preview shows, I have said that Packers Vikings. I think there's a new sheriff in town in the NFC North, and to me, this is the Vikings' chance to prove it. They're an underdog, even if it be, albeit a slight one, at home against the Green Bay Packers. And I think this is the season that Aaron Rodgers' crown slips a little bit because, frankly, he just doesn't have the receivers to throw to. He's kind of like in the same boat that Jameis Winston was in last year. I mean, his top receiver is Alan Lazard. And so I think it's going to be tough on him. A lot of pressure is going to be put on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon for that Packers team to accomplish what they want, where they want to go. And I think this is the year that the Vikings and Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and Alvin Cook and just Adam Thielen, and you can go down K.J. Osborne, go down the list, Irv Smith from Brother Martin High School. I mean, the Vikings, to me, offensively, could be one of the best teams in the league. And frankly, I think the Vikings have a chance to be an NFC champion kind of team. And so, to me, this is a bellwether game right off the bat, and that's the one I'm looking forward to most.
Spencer?
Yeah, it's from a value standpoint. I think there's a lot of value right now with the Steelers covering. I don't see the Bengals doing that well, and they're in the they've been a Super Bowl losers for one, and for there's so many new faces along the O-line. I think it's going to take them a little while to gel to where that Steelers pass rush with T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward. I think Joe Burrow could have kind of a long day there. So I'm thinking I don't think the Steelers will win outright, but I think they'll cover that. I think that'll be a pretty close game.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you can just see Mike Tomlin making life hell on the Bengals in that game, one way or the other. It'll be ugly, but it'll be effective. College lines this weekend, guys. I don't know that there's one huge game. Alabama, Texas, I guess on paper would be, but I don't know that there's. I mean, is there a single solitary soul who thinks Texas is going to win that? We'd have to ask Leah Van, the Texas grad, if she thinks the Longhorns can win that game. But there's a lot of sort of undercard games. Another one I didn't put on here: Arizona State and Oklahoma State. Missouri plays Kansas State. Washington State plays Wisconsin. A lot of these sort of Power 5 versus Power 5 games that will decide the pecking order between conferences and for the rankings. But some interesting ones here.
And what's the deal with that? Oh, sorry,
Go
dude.
ahead, Spence. No,
okay, yeah, I was like, what's the deal with that Baylor BYU line? That just seems crazy to me that BYU's a 3.5-point favorite. I almost bet Baylor last night, but I held off because is there something I don't know about? That just seems like so fishy. Like, why is BYU favorite? I get that they're at home, but Baylor to me is a lot better team. I mean, that just seems crazy to me. That just seems like Baylor money line smash play.
I'm taking BYU.
I'm not. I agree with
like
you,
why?
Like
what's the why? I just don't get it. What's the deal?
I think Baylor lost a lot from last year. I will say that.
I mean, I like Dave Aranda though. I think Dave Aranda is a great coach, and he's gonna have them where I think they'll be back recharged. I like them, but go ahead, Jim.
My one to look at is, and if I had to put a bet down right now, is the one that sticks out is Florida. I mean, and I'm going to take Kentucky, so I'm taking the opposite way. Kentucky is a sneaky, really good team. I know they lost their quarterback, who's now a wide receiver in the NFL, but I just think Kentucky is a sneaky good team. And all the hype's around in Florida because they beat Utah last week. I think that line is fishy. I think that's one that bettors are going to jump all over Florida and lay that 4.5. And to me, this is one of those games where you pick the other side because you're not sure that. I mean, couldn't you see Florida laying an egg after all the energy they expended last week? So I think Kentucky's a sneaky good team. Going to go on the road and at least give Florida all they can handle. That might be the game to watch on Saturday.
I like that, Jim, because I think Kentucky's better than people think. And I don't know, I think Utah's a good team. I don't know that they're a great team. And that's a very tough road trip for a team to make first game of the season. By the way, we have to shout out Rod Walker because he picked Florida and he picked Florida State to beat LSU. And I don't know too many people who had that double. But Rod Walker figured it out on Saturday.
I don't know anyone else who texted me at 1 a.m. Monday morning to let me know.
Yeah, and Uncle Big Nick likes Kentucky as well. I think that's just one of those situations where if that game was week 1, it would be like a pick 'em. Maybe Florida's favored by 1.5 or something, and now you're telling me 4.5 because look, they played well, but they kind of lucked out at the end against Utah too. The tight end fell down. They got the interception in the end zone. You could argue the quarterback had gotten into the end zone on the play before, and they didn't review it. And it was just one of those weird finishes. It worked out in Florida's favor, but we're giving them 3 points on the line against Kentucky because of that. I totally agree with you guys on that one. And then the one I like.
And Nick says, hint, real quick, because I got to use my final segment for things that Gen Zers say. Thursday's Datitude will be just Nick and I making – it's going to be a weekly thing during football season, making our picks. We have a hypothetical $100 a week. And so you have up to 5 games you can pick. So that's why Nick's saying hint Thursday. That'll be on his card. He'll be on Datitude. I guess picking Kentucky. So
check that out. One other thing I wanted to get to real quick. Oh, I was going to say I like Tennessee covering at Pitt. I think Tennessee's very good. I do think they can do a lot of damage, even in the SEC, against anybody besides Alabama and Georgia, let's say. One other thing I wanted to get to, the U.S. Open in tennis, it's kind of a shame every year it ends on the first week of football season, and so everyone kind of ignores it unless you're a big tennis fan. This is one of the craziest tennis tournaments we've seen in years. It's the first Grand Slam since 2003 in which none of Serena Williams, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, or Novak Djokovic are in the quarterfinals. So none of those 4 are in the quarterfinals. Instead, you have, if you're not a tennis fan, you don't even know who a lot of these guys are. Francis Tiafoe, the 5th one down, he's the American who beat Nadal on Saturday. That was yesterday. That was on Monday. And your boy Yannick Sinner won again today, Jim.
There he is, Yannick, my boy.
Yeah.
I think
a couple of these quarterfinals are actually going on right now, or maybe even just ended. And so some of these may be a little bit out of date. And then on the women's side, it might even be more wide open. All 8 players have 10-1 or better odds. Iga Swiatek is the favorite. She's at 2-1, but all the way down to the Serena killer, Alia Tomljanovic, if I'm saying that right.
There you go.
She's 10-1, along with Jessica Pegula, an American. Coco Gauff's 5-1. So a lot of good tennis going on too. If you get tired of football, you're looking for something to watch before the football starts. U.S. Open, also the Champions League. I put Champions League odds up on bet.NOLA.com this morning, guys.
Actually, I think it's
Tomljanovic. There, thank you.
That's it. Yeah,
I butchered that.
If my Polish is up to par, but
all right. I think she's actually Australian, but it does sound like from Polish descent.
Wow, just because she lives in us. I'm talking about her.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts. We're going to set this up. I know I usually go last so I can end the show, but I got no other choice. We have to do dumb stuff Gen Zers say last. So I'm going to go first with my final thought, and that is, look, I know it's going to be unpopular around here, but I just said it. The Champions League is one of the great events in sports. I personally love it because the games are on in the afternoon, and I can have it on in the background while I'm working. It's like March Madness or the World Cup, except for club soccer teams. And today there was a team from Croatia, Dinamo Zagreb, that went off and beat Chelsea 1-0. Huge upset, kind of reverberates around the world. Lots of good betting opportunities. Tune into the Champions League. Pay attention to it. It's on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, kind of every other week. And then they get into the tournament next. It's group stage now, and then next February they get into the tournament. So I'd say pay attention to that. Lots of fun opportunities with the World Cup in between this year. Spencer, your final thought.
It's draft night, baby. The fantasy roundup / Bayou Bets listener league is popping off tonight at 8 o'clock. So Zach and everyone in it, be ready. It's going to be a fun draft. And yeah, can't wait to see how it shakes out. 10-man PPR for the, well, we're not eligible, but for the Caesars 2 tickets on the line. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see how that goes.
Yeah, we saved Uncle Big Nick from leaving because he's hanging on. This is what we call smart television. Yeah, and Spencer's right. Our listener league starts tonight. The draft is tonight. 2 tickets to Saints Panthers for the top listener finisher in that one. And now, drum roll, please. The first edition of Stupid Things Gen Zers Say, Jim Derry.
So this has been an ongoing debate for the last, 3 years, I guess, about who the best quarterback is in the NFL. I mean, well, Tom Brady's, the best living, the best current quarterback of all time, right? That's not a debate. So the debate of who is the current quarterback of all time. This dude is a Bills Mafia, just going all out. He's spending all of his extra income on Josh Allen jerseys. So it's one thing to me to say that Josh Allen is the best quarterback of today, which he thinks he is. He's better than Mahomes. He's better than Rodgers. He's better than, just go down the list. Lamar Jackson, whoever you want to pick. And he may be better than some of these guys. But all right, here's the thing that dumb things kids say. Out of what, he's been in the league for 3 years now? Josh Allen, and there's no debating this. No debate. Josh Allen is the top 20 quarterback of all time because on some guy's list, I don't know what list he went to, but on some guy's list, Warren Moon is number 20. So Josh Allen, whom Spencer has never seen play live, my son has never seen play live, is a bum. And Josh Allen's definitely better than him. And he's starting to use percentages, all these TD and interception ratios and completion percentages, because football in 1992 was exactly the same as it is in 2022. And so I'll have a better way to say this, but basically that's my dumb stuff Gen Zers say of today. And I would love to get comments. Is Josh Allen a top 20 quarterback of all time? And he is there without debate the best quarterback today. I would love to hear Spencer's analysis real quick.
Oh man, I just face palm. I'm so disappointed in that Gen Zer. That was just, that's just, come on. Just come on. You're just go home. You have no business debating top 20 if you're going to throw Josh Allen in there. He's only played 4 seasons. 4 seasons. Everyone else on that list, to me, you've got to have played at least 15 to be considered for that as a quarterback. Because, you got guys like Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, guys, 20 plus year careers, and you're trying to throw in a guy that only played 4. That's just, Mahomes would even be silly, much less Josh Allen. Josh Allen's never gotten past the divisional round. That's just,
where would you rank Josh Allen right now today?
Like all time or among active?
No. Like among after, like if you had to, obviously he's the number 1 quarterback on fantasy for a lot of people, and I have no problem with that. So, but talking fantasy quarterback and talking about real quarterbacks are 2 completely different things. So, I want to know, Spencer, as far as if you were for this season only, not I'm talking about starting a franchise. Who is he better than Mahomes? Put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's interchangeable. I'd probably go with, I think I'd probably still go with Mahomes slightly. I'd say they'd be 1-2 like for this season, and then probably Rodgers and Herbert, and I guess got to throw in Brady would be the 5, and maybe Burrow too. But yeah, he's definitely up there for this year. Yeah,
you're saying there's a debate, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. Because, I'm sure the dude there was saying that there was no debate. It's clear cut.
You're a millennial. Millennials say dumb things too, so go ahead.
Yeah, go for 2 first. But a couple of things. Okay, a couple of things here. Josh Allen has been in the league for 4 years, as you said, and he was not very good the first of those 4 years. He threw for 2,074 yards, 52.8% completion, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So, and okay, he's a rookie. He's gotten a lot better. But we're talking about 4 years where one wasn't even very good. Now, and even the second one, he was only 59% completion, 20 touchdowns, 9 picks. That's fine. That's good. But it's certainly not nowhere near the best in the league. And then we're talking about 2 seasons where he's been among the best quarterbacks in the league. So just no. And the other
hasn't beaten Mahomes when it counted.
That's right. He has made one AFC. He's only even been to the AFC Championship game once. And just once. And yeah, they probably should have won that game last year to get back to the AFC Championship game, but they didn't. So you can't count it. The other thing I'll say is, while we're picking on Warren Moon, you cannot just look at Warren Moon's NFL statistics.
Oh,
the man is
a Gen Zer.
He is a 5-time Grey Cup champion. He is a 2-time CFL MVP. I'm not saying
that was before he went to the NFL. You're right.
That's right. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm not trying to argue that. But it would be like saying, well, you can't, you can only count Ichiro's baseball statistics from the major league. So it doesn't, what he did in his prime years doesn't count for anything? It's his fault that he wasn't playing. I mean, you can't say it doesn't count for anything. It doesn't count the same as the NFL or the major leagues, but it doesn't count for nothing.
What I told him was that if Josh Allen played in 1992, he'd already missed 12 games, but he would have got the crap beat out of him trying to run so much. So, I mean, you're comparing apples to walnuts. I mean, you can't do it.
Warren Moon was a bad mamma jamma, man. I don't know. I don't know if Josh Allen ends up being as good as him or what, but I don't think you can say right now that 2 good years of Josh Allen competes.
This dude is a bum right here.
Yeah, bomb. Man, see, that's a low blow. Not only did you ID him, we got the family photo. My goodness. My goodness.
The two girls know more about football than he does.
All right, here's what we got going on this week. Tonight is our listener draft. If you are in on that action for the Bayou Bets Listener Fantasy Football League, we got our draft tonight. Jim, you've got Datitude coming out Thursday morning with Uncle Big Nick. Thursday afternoon, live at 4 o'clock, same channels. Trey Wingo here.
Right.
Live on Thursday, yeah, and then live at 4 o'clock on Thursday on these same channels. Trey Wingo to help us preview the NFL, the Saints. It will be our season predictions and the debut of our pick'em game for this year. I got those Caesars glasses ready for those of you who win each week. Oh, I forgot them. Notre Dame covered, and I forgot them. I'm disappointed in myself.
Come on,
man.
At least I did.
And then the big cup thing.
The goblet. Yeah,
the goblet.
We got the Caesars goblet. Listen, we will have it next week. I got to find a way to get one to you guys in case you guys win. Well, I don't
Zach really caught that. Zach really caught that in Bacchus last year.
No, that's not true. Not true. In the meantime, like to encourage you all to sign up for our newsletter at NOLA.com/Bayou Bets. Sign up for Caesars Sportsbook if you haven't done that already at NOLA.com/Caesars. And search our Bayou Bets YouTube page and become a subscriber. Give us a like. Trying to grow that channel and keep bringing you more of this content where Jim makes wrong decisions about whether to go for 2 or not.
You're not baiting me. I'm done. My blood pressure.
That's almost as bad. That's almost as bad as saying Josh Allen is a top 20 all-time quarterback.
I mean, as it is when we get off the show, I gotta go.
Come on.
I gotta go take blood pressure medicine after this is over. The crap y'all say to me.
Okay. Well, we will talk again on Thursday, same time, same place, 4 o'clock. Until then, everybody, have a good one. For Jim and Zach, for Jim and Spencer, I'm Zach. I'm very flustered at this point. Have a good afternoon.